Hey everybody, welcome to the CALLOUS Crew Challenge Tuesday, Wednesday, round of 16 recap video. Basically for this tour, I am not going to be narrating fairy gens because, quite frankly, I just don't have the knowledge to bring you a quality narration or know what the heck I'm talking about. It wouldn't be up to my standards, so unfortunately you guys are just going to be stuck with a recap rather than a proper narration. However, I will be narrating the older gens for this tour, and if you want to see the full games at your own pace, the best way to do that is to come into my Discord server, link in the description. Not only can you catch the games live, but the replays are there, and you can watch them to your heart's content. Anyhow, very first round of the tour, we kick off with this set. Very, very good. It is Lax against Ox the Fox, two of the best SM players, and this could easily be an SPL tiebreaker or the match that between two first picks in a different tour. Really good players. People were skeptical with Lax. Most of you guys in my channel thought that Ox would be the winner here, but most of you guys thought that there was just a lot of unknown with Lax. Would he be back in form after not playing this tour, this tier super seriously for a number of years? Maybe 2019, 2020 at the latest. But people seemed very impressed by Lax's play in this game, especially in the early game. People thought that Lax looked really good, back in shape, back in form. This was back and forth for a little while. We will get to the pivotal point in the game a little bit later. But like I said, back and forth, and people largely in the chat complimentary of the play for Lax during this game. Greninja, obviously, big threat in this particular matchup, but you guys will see how it plays out in just a minute. Basically, this game ultimately comes down to Volcarona, as it so often does. I'll slow down at this point. You guys will see the gist of this game. So crucially, Scald is not popping the sub here, letting Volcarona set up a little more. There's Quiver Dance number 2. Haze there for the reset, so pretty annoying for the Volcarona. Here's Quiver Dance again. Lefty's, of course, going this whole time. That time Scald does break the sub. Sub again. Scald again. Doesn't pop it that time. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Quiver Dance number 2. And he opts for Scald. So this turn right here is the most important turn of this particular battle. It opens up Lax with a one-turn window here to nail the Volcarona with Toxic, and he basically wins the game should he connect. But if he misses it, then Ox can steal this game with the Volcarona, and that's what's going to have to happen here. Unfortunately for Ox, the bug buzz here is not a crit, which is what he was fishing for, and likewise a Toxic miss would have sufficed. Either of those would have been good enough, but neither one occurs, and from there it is simple enough for Lax to dance around, Toxic stall the Volcarona out, and then clean up the game with the Greninja, given the state of both pokes remaining for Ox. A couple shurikens later, we're done here, and Lax does take game 1. Game 2 here, unfortunately, was not as close as game 1. This one, a bit more of a one-sided affair. Again, I don't have anything beyond very basic commentary because this is just not my forte. I should tell you guys the teams. Lax is, of course, on Let's in the Sun with Tony Flygon, now just known as Tony, and Illoden. And then Ox is on one of the teams considered the favorites. He's on Team Mom, which is just short for M-Dragon, Ox, and Malekith. But this one, like I said, unfortunately, was not all that close. People did criticize Ox's play in the chat, thought that he could have played the Lati a bit differently. I'm not going to criticize him. I just don't know this gen well enough to say anything negatively about anybody. That would just be inappropriate, not a place. But like I said, this one, a lot more one-sided than the previous. Lax took this down pretty handily, again finishing things out with a Greninja. And he's going to take this set 2-0 and give Team Let's in the Sun a 1-0 lead. The remaining matches in that set, for those following, are Tony Flygon against M-Dragon and RBY, and unusually, Malekith and Illoden in Oras. Those matches still to come. Moving over to a different series here. We got some additional Tuesday action. This is Ima against Nico. They are on teams This Is Why for Ima, along with Zom and Genesis 7, against Numero Uno for Nico. He's teaming with X-Ray and Mikmer. Some Gen 8 action here. Ima on the bottom. Ima opting for a Hail team this time around. I recall that Game 2, rather, in this one was particularly memorable. I didn't get to catch too much of this game live. I feel like it was relatively vaguely close, but Game 2 I remember being very memorable, and you'll see why in a minute when we get to it. Static activating there, pretty obnoxious. Knockoff, pretty standard stuff so far. Blizzard there, one-hit KO. Can't go wrong. Big threat in the Arctozolt. But I do know the outcome of this game, so I don't want to get ahead of it and get spoilers. I believe the Chomp ends up doing a whole lot of not much here. 4x weak Fire Fang there, only 53% on Pharaoh. Pretty underwhelming. And it is my recollection that this Tapu just goes nuts and wins the game, is the way that I believe this plays out. There's a third Calm Mind boost. Yeah, Ima just doesn't have the answer. He Earthquakes here. Earthquakes again. Nico just hail stalling him out. Makes another sub, so very important that he is still behind a sub. Draining Kiss, all that health back. Nothing Ima can do here, just at the mercy of the Tapu Fini, which, like I said, I believe just goes on to sweep the game. So yeah, it will be a 1-0 lead for Nico here over Ima. Nico, like I said, team numero uno alongside X-Ray and Mikmer. Ima is on This Is Why with Zom and G7. Could not deal with this, going through the motions. But Game 2, like I said, pretty memorable. Finally does switch out, but he's so far behind at this point. He does catch the Weevil with a low kick, but too little too late. Everything's just banged up for Ima. Heatran comes in, still sleeping from before. Subs up. Heatran doesn't even give a shit. He just rocks up. Low kick, Lava Plume respectively. Low kick again. Crit doesn't matter. Ferrothorn, Gyro Ball. Flamethrower, and Landorus comes in for the cleanup. Now, Game 2, there's one obnoxious turn in particular. There's a couple of them, but there's one or two that really stand out. It's Ima on the bottom again and Nico on the top again. Burn here, bad on Chomp, ends up dying, but it's revenged by Tornadus. Here's the really bad turn coming up right here. So Rain is down because of Pelipper. We end up with Omastar against Heatran. This turn was brutal. Omastar with Swift Swim, faster here. Probably already was, but it certainly is now. And this is devastating. Hydro Pump kills. And yeah, completely whiffs the Hydro Pump, which would have killed the Heatran. Would have picked something off here basically no matter what. But yeah, Heatran stays in, would have died 80% of the time. Instead, Hydro Pump misses, and there is Earth Power to insta-kill the Omastar. Devastating turn there. Not too likely to happen, but really bad for Ima. All of a sudden, this matchup looks pretty decent. He's pretty ahead to, well, you missed a Hydro Pump, but I killed you. But things go from bad to worse here. Here comes Crawdaunt, Crab Hammer, it kills, but there's a 30% Flame Body activation. And from there, the rest of this game, basically history. Unfortunate game for Ima, who I think had a good matchup here and would have won this game the majority of the time. He misses Hurricane 2, gets crit there by Scale Shot. This game's just a disaster. And what are you going to do? This is one of those games where, like, when you need to point to an example of why Pokemon is not, cannot, should not be an esport, this is the kind of game that you point to. Ima with a very good matchup here. Probably should have won. A lot of BS. The Hydro Pump miss to be insta-KO'd by Earth Power sucked. And then, as if that weren't insult to injury enough, of course Flame Body activates 30% on the follow-up, so Crawdaunt can't sweep either. So unfortunate for Ima. Feel bad for him for sure. But Nico takes this one down and gives his team, numero uno, the 1-0 lead in this set. Now, this set in real time, the whole entire series is already over. So at this point, if you don't want to know how that series ends, you should stop right now because I'm about to give you spoilers. The next set that played, which I'm going to be narrating, is Mikmer against Zom. Mikmer on Nico's team, numero uno, and Zom on Ima's team. This is why I'm about to spoil that outcome. So again, I would pause or stop right now if you don't want to know what happened. The winner of that set, and like I said, I'm going to narrate it. You're going to see that on the channel. The winner of that set was Zomog 2-0 over Mikmer. So that left the series at 1-1. And there had to be a decisive third series to decide who's going to go to the round of 8 and who's going to be eliminated. And that series also played out today. So we wound up here with Genesis 7, which is on This Is Why, against MegaXray, just X-Ray, who is on numero uno. And they played a best of 3 in Oras, which that may seem one-sided on paper. But like I said in the chat, G7 at one point, even though a lot of you know him as an RBY guy these days, G7 at one point was an Oras mainer, and he certainly does know his way around the tier. So X-Ray in this one gets hazards down early, he gets toxic spikes down, he gets rocks down, and then he starts doing things like knockoff and just slowly chipping away. The toxic spikes did get removed, but the rocks are still up. T-Wave comes down there. Yeah, looks like X-Ray's team is largely designed to slowly but surely choke out the other guy, just incremental damage. This Pokemon here, this ghost guy, Cophagrigus. Yeah, not a mon that I am familiar with. I'm sure I've seen it at some point, but doesn't ring a bell and not something that I knew what it did. But you see X-Ray in this game, we have cool usage out of it. Probably a standard set, I would assume here. Toxic Spikes, Pain Split, Will-O-Wisp, Hex, but even for me, someone who's a non-Oras player, I can obviously see why that particular set would be useful. But yeah, they get into a Calm Mind pissing contest here. The faster, non-burnt Latias wins out via a couple stored powers. And X-Ray takes this game in one-sided fashion, a 6-0 for him. If he's to win Game 2, he would knock out Team This Is Why, the first casualty of the tour. And G7, of course, can send us to a Game 3. So here is the second game where G7 busting out Blastoise, which even I know as a non-Oras player is not a common mon whatsoever in this tier. It ends up just trading with a boosted Bisharp, which is probably decent, and G7 actually starts out this game pretty strong. He's in a decent position right here, going back and forth, back and forth. We've got ourselves a 5-4. Hanging pretty tough with the Superior, even though the Superior is still alive and we're now even at 4-4. G7 comes in with Thundy, eats a big Dragon Pulse but kills with Thunderbolt. Thundy on Thundy ends up being Revenge, 3-3. T-Wave, Psychic respectively. Specs drop doesn't matter there, Psychic kills. But now Mew goes for cleanup duty and there is nothing G7 can do. Swords Dance, there's Drain Punch, Leech Seed, sure, not enough. And Mew here is going to clean it up pretty easily. Lati paralyzed, just dies to Ice Punch. And this one in 19 turns also goes the way of X-Ray. Closer than the previous, but same outcome. And with that, X-Ray is going to take his team, numero uno, into the round of 8 via a 2-1 series victory. And Genesis 7 and his team, alongside Zom and Ima, This Is Why, are going to be the first casualties of the CALLOUS Crew Challenge. Their team is out. I hope you guys enjoyed this little recap video. This is the best you're going to get out of me when it comes to fairy gens, but like I said, expect more proper narrations for older gens, including the full set that we talked about, Zomog against Mikmer, coming up next. If you've enjoyed this video, if you've enjoyed CALLOUS Crew Challenge so far, please do leave a thumbs up or a comment. But the most important things, like I said, if you want to be really involved in this tour, get in the Discord server. Link in the description. You can catch the games live. You can see all the replays. Check them out at your leisure. And if you feel like donating, no pressure or obligation to do so. This tour will always take it. All the money goes to the players, and it just builds up the prize pool and builds up the hype. So please consider doing that. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.